Yo, what it do, y'all? I'm your host, Will. Welcome to Fandom Frequency. We are coming right back at y'all with a double feature right here X-Men 97. The weekly reviews continue just in time before we get that big three-parter finale, but we are talking about episode 6, Life Death Part 2, and obviously this week's episode 7, titled, I forgot, let me double check here. Bright Eyes. There you go. So now we are coming at y'all with all the X-Men content and all that stuff. We talk about Marvel, horror movies, anime, whatever. So if you like all that stuff, click the buttons below the video and show some love, baby. We're trying to grow this community out. We're trying to at least hit. We want to try to at least hit a big old 500 to 1,000 by the end of the year. But the big goal right now is 500. So be a part of this awesome community today and join us. But with no further ado, let's get into it. I got a bit busy last week. Some shit came up. Wasn't able to get to the review for episode 6, Life Death Part 2. And I gotta say, just getting into my overall thoughts on that one before we recap that and then get into episode 7, of course. I really dug it. It wasn't necessarily my favorite episode of the season, but one of my big pluses to it, other than the way they were able to land the Storm storyline from the Life Death comics in a really good way, it was definitely Cliff Notes. It definitely was a more quicker version of that storyline, just like they did with the Inferno storyline in episode 3 this season. Wait, yeah, Fire Made Flesh, episode 3. Why did I second guess myself to begin with? But when it comes to that, and they did all that stuff pretty quick, so I kind of expected the same thing with this episode here. But the great thing was they still landed it in a really great way. I love the way this Storm gets her really classic black costume, other than the white costume from the 90s and everything like that. This would definitely be her most iconic look, I would say, with the whole African like kind of headband thing going on and everything like that. I forgot the name of what it actually is. But that was really cool and really dug all that. And then when it came to the Professor X portion of this with him on the Shi'ar Empire, living out his new life with his lovely Lalandra and stuff like that, and trying to get acclimated to the Imperium and whatnot, and Lady Deathbird and all these fools do not want him a part of their society at all and are essentially telling him that he's got to like wipe his mind and shit like that. I really dug that storyline, and it was so cool to finally get back to seeing the Shi'ar Empire. Getting to see Ronan the Accuser with the Shi'ar Empire was really cool, and the way they're blending in these MCU elements with this classic X-Men series and really making it feel a part and of that canon has been seamless and feels very natural to the show, and it really can play that way. And the way they kind of been dabbling with that a little bit in the live action, a bit more clunkily, but I think it kind of adds a little more to that and makes things, if they get it really right with Deadpool and Wolverine and some of the other things to come in live action, we could really be looking at at a big time X-Men renaissance, and hopefully that's the way they're going to run things in the future. But with this episode in particular, I loved the whole thing going on with Professor X and the way he was able to take everybody to school and show them what's up, and the way that after he felt the devastation of what was happening, he's like, oh shit, I got to go back to Earth. So I don't know how long it's going to be before he gets here. I'm assuming he's going to get there just in the nick of time at the end of the season for a big save, or he's going to get there just too late in the beginning of season 2 after some big shit goes down in this 3-part finale. Because not to jump too far ahead, but in episode 7, y'all know shit is about to go down, son. Like the stakes are real. Shit's getting no more time for Motendo. We ain't got time for that because it's about to get real. So I really, really loved all that, and the way they were seamlessly kind of doing these two storylines adjacent to each other throughout this episode. I thought was a lot smoother than the way they did it with episode 4 with Motendo slash Life Death Part 1. I thought they did a lot better with Part 2 and merging that in with Professor X's storyline, because it's kind of like two love stories playing at the same time in two different contexts in two completely different ways. And with Storm finding something out about herself, while Professor Xavier is finding out something devastating about what's going on in the state of his people. So it's very, very interesting, and it's very cool the way they were able to do that, and both of them using their powers in this thing, in this self-discovery, I thought was really, really well done. And yeah, and even the villain, the Overseer or whatever the hell his name is, I really, really dug him in the way that they were playing psychologically with Storm's mind the whole time in the show and getting that whole psychological mind trip I thought was pretty interesting. And the animation on that was so fucking well done. Super trippy and kind of creepy and eerie at the same time. Not playing it too kid friendly, but not making it way too like scary for kids at the same time. I feel like a kid like me when I was a kid, I liked horror and things like that. So I felt like this would have been right up my alley and would have been really cool. Like around that, like my around when I was like the ages of like 9, 10, or 11, like when I really started kind of really watching true blue R-rated adult horror films and really started becoming a fan of the genre and getting used to the scares a little bit more. That was definitely getting into my double digit age. That was definitely would have really played well for me there. And but yeah, but that was pretty much my thoughts on episode 6. Nothing too crazy, but a really, really good, solid episode of X-Men '97. It didn't feel like filler in the slightest. It was very much very important stuff to the characters, and getting Storm back into the fold with her powers soon coming up for hopefully this 3-part finale, because they're gonna need all the firepower they can get. That's for sure. And with Professor X coming back into the picture, 2 Omega level mutants coming back into the thing could really change things up for this big villain they're about to start facing in this whole next thing coming up here with Bastion and all this stuff. So shit's about to go down. But as you can see, I'm really excited about episode 7, of course. And yeah, so getting into the recap portion of this thing, we pick up with Professor Xavier on the whatever the Shi'ar planet is, at the Shi'ar Empire with the Imperium, hanging out with Lalandra and all this stuff, and them getting ready to have this big royal wedding. They're starting to get going and everything like that, so that way he could become the new emperor of the Shi'ar Empire by Lalandra's side and all that stuff. And then as that's going on, we see that Deathbird definitely is not feeling it. And then we jump back onto Earth with Storm, with her dealing with the Overseer or whatever the hell his name is, and with him psychologically messing around with Storm's mind and all that stuff, and getting to see Forge tap into some of his magical powers, and the way that they actually animated that and made that visually look a little bit closer to what Doctor Strange's magic looks like. So, like I said, the way they're working in the MCU visuals and characters and lore that they've done in the first in these last 5 phases of the MCU is getting worked into the X-Men '90s style very seamlessly, and I think they're just kind of indoctrinating that in, so to speak, as one of the overall multiverses, if you will. And I know that's been a little sloppy in the MCU the last couple phases, but right here, I definitely feel like they're playing really, really good with that idea and implementing that in a way that seems kind of understandable to people that have some familiarity with the MCU or fanatics like myself and you probably watching right now. So that all played really well, and getting to see him tap into that, which is all straight from the comics, really, really cool stuff. And I've been doing some research over these last couple weeks and getting more knowledge of what Forge's whole thing is about and how they've kind of taken some changes and done some different things with the life death storyline, with him having a cabin as opposed to like a apartment on a big ass like skyscraper type thing. So love the way they're kind of switching these things up and doing their own thing with it. Always a good plus and always a good thing with an adaptation. And then we go back to the Shi'ar Empire as this conflict between Xavier and Deathbird and the Imperium starts to heat up and just get even more intense. And it gets to the point to where she straight up drops the gauntlet later on and is like, here's the thing, bro. You're gonna have to wipe your memory of all your memories on Earth, of all your of past life, if you want to continue to be with us and move forward. You know what I mean? Gladiators definitely. They get the big showdown that happens and all that stuff with the with seemingly Cyclops' brother jumping in there. I forget the character's name, but I'm gonna try to look that up and throw that in here just real quick, because that could be some big implications as well. And we get to see a little conflict go down with those guys. And then as we get back into life, death, and everything, Storm still fighting through psychologically with everything that's going on. You know what I mean? Trying to regain her strength and regain, regain her powers and regain her identity of who she is and things like that. Tries to get Forge away from all this shit going on with the Overseer with his injuries and all that stuff. And then Professor X gets that crazy vision of Gambit in that like almost in like the cosmic realm or whatever, and then you get to see like that flash of like lightning, and then him just look like a straight up skeleton. Super cool horror imagery once again. And he's like, oh shit, like he sees what happened on Genosha. He's like, oh fuck, dude. He's all, people were getting down and having a good time, and then they just had a fucking terrorist attack down there. I gotta go be with my peoples, especially my X-Men. And I was like, man, dude, I was like, this shit's getting pretty intense right here, dude. Shit's getting pretty tense. And then, you get back to Storm over there on planet Earth. She's over there fighting the Overseer and all this stuff. And then she gets her big costume transformation, which is all badass and whatnot. and everything like that. And she's got her powers back, and she's gonna go do her thing. And Professor X is on his way back to Earth, and that's pretty much where we leave all the main storylines in episode 6, man. And like I said, once again, not a filler episode by any means, but not necessarily the most action packed or craziest episode of the show, but still a damn good episode of the series. And I really dug it. It's good stuff. But now it's time to get into episode 7, Bright Eyes. Now it's time to get into the fucking the main course here. And let me tell you, I just got done watching this episode literally right before I recorded this video going up today, right before I go to work. And let me say, God damn, the show just keeps getting better and better, man. It just keeps getting better and better. You start off hot and heavy with my boy Nightcrawler giving the whole funeral, doing the whole funeral service for Gambit for everybody. Because for those that might have forgot, Rogue and Gambit were actually the ones that went and recruited and saved him and got him from the church, a la X-Men 2 style, the way Storm and Jean Grey did it in that film. So all really cool to see the way they're bringing that back in and everything like that. And this was a fantastic episode, man. Like I said, one big reveal that happened in there that was pretty funny to me was the fact that Magneto truly wasn't dead, because I saw on different shows like Double Toasted and stuff like that, they're like, he ain't dead, he's coming back. And I was like, I feel you. I feel like he might have died right now, but I feel like he'll be back somehow. But I was totally wrong even there. He ain't dead. You know what I'm saying? So we know he's back. Freaking Bastion's over there messing with him, shaving him up, being a creeper, being a weirdo. So we know our boy's good to go and everything like that. But I just love that whole funeral scene and everything going on with that. That just felt so real and felt so earnest, and the way they just played it serious, but not like too overly dramatic or anything like that. It just felt just right. They had just the right touch and feel for the episode, or for that moment, and I really loved that. And Bright Eyes obviously being a reference to him. So I really loved all that, because it does truly appear that he is dead, and that is definitely the case. But the cool thing is here is, but also as the episode progresses, I love seeing Rogue just go around fucking up fools and just being like, where the fuck is Bolivar Trask? You gonna tell me where he's at, or I'm gonna suck the life out of you. No sexual shit. There. No Diddy, you know what I'm saying? but for reals though, she's going around town almost on some Punisher stuff. Not literally killing everybody, but she's like, I ain't playing around. You're gonna give me the information I want to know. And she's on a rampage, and shit's getting real. We even run into none other than motherfucking Steve Rogers, Captain America, which is also one of the coolest fucking moments of the show. That was awesome. Get to see the fucking Shield come in and everything like that, and their whole back and forth. And if I remember correctly, I believe he was in the original X-Men 90s series as well, so they have some history together, him and the X-Men. So obviously there's no Avengers running around, but really cool getting to see a straight up MCU character, one of the main pillars of it, in Steve Rogers. So that's really awesome. Really cool to see Captain America pop up in this thing. The introduction of the reintroduction of Cable as well. Super awesome, super cool timing. And the whole way that they're setting up this whole conflict going on with Bastion and with Mr. Sinister and everything going on there, and building into these new Sentinels that are going to be just fucking up shit is insane. Rogue straight killing fools, dude. But then he woke up and turned into a human Sentinel thing. But she's straight killing motherfuckers, man. Like, she ain't playing around. Like, it was such a badass, cool moment, dude. Like, just getting to see her like, oh yeah, well, too bad for you, sugar, or whatever she said. She just dropped his ass. I was like, damn, cold-blooded in here. Cold-blooded. So I was loving all that stuff, man, and just getting to see that darker side of Rogue is really cool, because people forget she was a villain starting out. There is kind of a darker side to Rogue, so that was always kind of the thing I liked about her character. Even though she's very bubbly and very lively, there is that edge to her and that darker side that can come out and can be used to great effect. So I really dug that. But yeah, man, so getting into all the recap stuff, because we got quite a bit to cover here. So like I said, we start off with Rogue going and wrecking shop in this secret U.S. military facility, and that's when we get her fucking up tanks and doing all kinds of shit. And then we get reintroduced to General Thunderbolt Ross up in there watching the monitor, seeing everything going down with it, and seemingly there might be some Red Hulk shit going on. Who the hell knows? But that is also a facility where they can hold the Hulk and things like that from the comics. So really interesting to see if they're going to bring that back around in this series in season 2, season 3, or any other potential Marvel animation series that can tie into this in the overall same continuity. Who the hell knows? Anything's possible. But I'm just nerding out. Y'all know the deal. But Rogue's on the thing like, hey, where the fuck's Bolivar Trask? I want to know, and you are going to fucking tell me, bitch. No, I was playing. She doesn't say that, but that's the whole thing going on. And Cyclops is over here talking to the president about how the UN isn't even helping get recover survivors and non-survivors alike, and help out in Genosha. He's saying for optics and political reasons, of course, he can't help and all that stuff. So the US is like, fuck y'all, I don't give a shit. Y'all deal with that shit. Even though there's gonna be like a full out war now started between y'all because of what fucking Bastion and all these fools are doing. But between mutants and humans and all that shit. But y'all know the deal. So obviously, Scott ain't freaking happy about that, but they got to formulate a plan and get back to it and get over. And they're gonna plan on going to Genosha themselves to help with the recovery effort and everything like that. And as they get over there and everything like that, Hank McCoy runs into that news reporter once again, a love interest of his from the comics, and they end up having a very heated interaction though because she ends up saying the wrong thing about humanity being scared of the mutants and all this other stuff, and how they're not necessarily how tolerance is kind of an issue right now, as opposed to is more of an issue than a convenience or whatever. You know what I mean? And the whole thing of how that makes Hank upset, and then he all storms off and everything like that. But some big reveals come up here because we do also find out that Emma Frost is still alive, so that's a good thing. And then we also find out that a lot of other fools ended up dying, of course. And they seemingly kind of tease that Madeline Pryor was alive, but that's not the case. So we don't know. She might be dead. She might be dead. I don't know. And from Cable's reaction, even in the episode, seems like, yeah, mom might not be around because Jean Grey, as we know, is not actually his biological mom. It's the clone. So all that's going down and everything like that. And Storm is just continuing. I mean, Storm, my lord, Storm's not even in this episode, dude. Get it together. And then Rogue's continuing on her rampage to other different locations and everything like that, trying to figure out what the hell's going on, where the hell's Bolivar Trask. She wants answers, and that's when she ends up running into Captain America, and you get that whole great interaction with them and all that stuff, and how she's trying to enlist his help to get Bolivar Trask and bring him down, even though he's also trying to track him down at the same time. But of course, Captain America's got to do it by the book. He also represents America, so he's like, yeah, I can't go down to South America and start fucking up shit with this uniform on. It's going to raise a lot of questions and a lot of issues going on here. And I don't want to necessarily get in the middle like that, even though I'm down to help. I just got to do it by the book, so hopefully you find the answers you're looking for. Hopefully y'all can figure this shit out. And then Rogue's like, all right, well, whatever, fuck you, dude. And then throws his shield way the hell somewhere, and he's like, oh, man. That was hilarious. And then you got Roberto da Costa, a.k.a. Sunspot, over here, getting ready to, he gets the courage from Jubilee to go back home after this whole Genosha thing and to tell his folks about him being a mutant, which turns out that his folks already knew he was a mutant, so that was pretty funny. And then, let me see what happens from there. That's when they discover Emma Frost and everything like that. So we already got that covered and everything like that. Let's see if I'm missing anything here. Because we know Roberto da Costa's mom definitely doesn't want him letting his mutation be known and all that stuff. Even though her and his father already knew about it. Turns out they already kind of figured it out when all these fires kept starting up at different houses they lived in and whatnot. They were like, we just don't want people to know about it. It's bad for our shareholders and all this shit going on since they're rich folks and whatnot. So they don't want anyone else to know he's a mutant, and he's gonna have to be very discreet about running around with Jubilee and the X-Men and things like that, because she's a very well-known or somewhat well-known X-Men member at this point. And then you got the big old thing going down with the one dude, which I forget the character, but it's not Bolivar Trask. I can't remember the name of the character, but that dude that ends up getting choked out and killed by none other than Bastion, of course. He gets killed and taken out, so that way he doesn't give it, because he already gave away information to Rogue. So I guess you figure that out somehow, because he sees everything, I guess. And then you get that really heartfelt moment with Rogue at the cemetery there in South America, just mourning the loss of Gambit, and, Nightcrawler comes in to comfort her, and is accompanied by the rest of the X-Men, and you get a little bit of a moment of levity there. And then as they finally go to this location, that Bolivar Trask called them to and said, hey, come over here. I'm going to help you out. I feel so bad about what happened. Let me let you know what's going on. He's the one talking about Bastion and someone that Mr. Sinister works for, and how he's creating this new technology they've never seen before, and it's thousands of years beyond their time, and how they're using this to create this new Sentinel superhuman android weapon that's going to be damn near unstoppable. But his Cable, as we find out later, also has the weapon to take this guy out. So that all comes into play from the future. But at the same time, Rogue ends up killing this fool Bolivar Trask, drops him off the top of that building after he's damn near trying to commit suicide himself already, after she gets all the information she wants to know. And then the X-Men are like, oh, damn, whatever. And then this fool wakes the fuck up as a Sentinel thing or whatever, knocks her out, one hit, dude, one hit KO'd her. It then goes on to damn near take out all the rest of the X-Men single-handedly. And it's like, dude, these are going to be some fucking dangerous ass Sentinels, man. This is crazy. This is like the X-Men Days of Future Past movie, but like even worse from what it looks like. One hitting motherfuckers. One hitting. Just bam. And then he's over here trying to fight. Morph turns into freaking what's his name? Turns into Quicksilver real quick, hits him with the freaking left and the rights and all that. Knocks his ass out one hit. Not too big of a surprise there, because Morph's nowhere near as strong as Rogue, as we know. But the fact that he one-shotted Rogue like that, it then just knocks this fool the fuck out. I'm like, oh shit. Y'all are fucked. like y'all are fucked right now. And then he's all attacking the building, and then Cyclops and Jean Grey are trying to stop all the debris from hitting the humans and whatnot, doing typical superhero shit. But, you know, and then Cable comes in with the save, with the electrical weapon or whatever, has that quick little reunion. Whoa, my bad. With his pops. And then from that point on, they got to formulate a new plan, work with Cable to try to figure out how to stop this shit. And then we get the big old kind of, not post-credit scene, but the last final scene with Bastion over here taunting Magneto, and we get the big reveal that, of course, Magneto's still alive. So we didn't lose everybody, but we still lost a hell of a lot of people, it still seems like, as Val Cooper hasn't even turned up yet, which is very interesting to me. So that could be a big thing from the comics that could come into play here. But we get the big reveal that Bastion is, in fact, the mastermind behind this thing, talking to Mr. Sinister, goes in taunting Magneto, and now the table is set. We now know what the threat is, who's behind it, and it's going to be crazy. Tolerance's Extinction 3-part finale for episodes 8, 9, and 10 are going to be insane, and we're going to cover them each and every week, no matter what. You best believe it. It's going to be insane, y'all. But this was a fantastic episode. We had this double-packed episode. I had to make sure I covered every single episode of this season, because this show is fucking kick-ass. But let me know what you thought about these 2 episodes down below in that comment section. We love nerding out and discussing this stuff with you guys. You know what I'm saying? And we just did that Deadpool and Wolverine trailer reaction, so go over there and check that out. And we got some live-action X-Men reviews. We're going to be jumping back in to the First Class quadrilogy, if you will, coming up here in May. And then we're going to be wrapping it up with the last couple Wolverine films, New Mutants, and, of course, Deadpool 1 and 2. Just as Deadpool and Wolverine are about to hit theaters. And we're going to have a ton of cool stuff for X-Men. Leading all up to that, it's the year of X-Men, so make sure you join us for all that cool shit. And thanks for sticking around for this to the end of the video. We'll catch you next week for episode 8. Much love. Stay tuned. Don't sleep. Catch you on the next one.